My fiancé demanded, "I want a $300,000 wedding or no wedding at all." I replied, "Then there won't be one. I can't put myself in a lifelong debt." So I canceled the venue, got a refund, and 72 hours later, her mom called me begging. To male, am, or rather was, engaged to Rachel, 29F. We've been together for 4 years. I thought we were happy. I thought we were on the same page about life, our future, everything. I'm a project manager for a construction company. I make good money, I'm financially responsible, I have a solid 5-year plan, a house, kids, a life. I thought Rachel was a part of that plan. The proposal was perfect. She cried, I cried, everyone was thrilled. We started planning the wedding about 3 months ago. I'd saved aggressively, and I had about $50,000 set aside specifically for this. I figured with contributions from her parents, we could have a really beautiful, memorable wedding for around 60 to 70 calories without anyone going into debt. That was my first mistake, assuming we were living in the same reality. Last Saturday, we sat down to finalize the budget. I had my spreadsheet open, showing her my savings, projecting costs. She was quiet, too quiet. Then she slid a binder across the table. It was thick, full of magazine cutouts, fabric swatches, and printouts from high-end wedding blogs. "What's this?" I asked. "This is the vision," she said, her voice a little dreamy. "Mom and I have been working on it." I flipped through it. The venues were literal castles. The floral arrangements looked like they belonged in the lobby of a 5-star hotel. The dresses, plural, were couture. I didn't even want to guess the price of the catering. I chuckled. "This is amazing, babe. A girl can dream, right? Now let's look at what we can actually." "No," she cut me off. Her eyes were hard. "This isn't a dream. This is the wedding I deserve." My stomach dropped. "Rachel, this is hundreds of thousands of dollars. 300,000 to be more accurate," she said without blinking. "That's the baseline." I just stared at her. I thought it was a joke, a test. I waited for her to laugh, to say gotcha, but she just sat there, looking at me expectantly. "Where would that money come from?" I finally managed to say, "I have $50 saved. That's everything I have for this. I'm not taking out a second mortgage on a house I don't even own yet." "Well," she said, sighing like I was a particularly dense child, "you're a man, you figure it out. Get a loan, sell some of your stocks. It's an investment in us." The conversation went downhill from there. It became clear this wasn't just her idea, it was her mother, Carolyn's grand vision. They saw this wedding as our social debut, a statement to their circle. My practicality was seen as an insult. My refusal to go into crippling debt was interpreted as me not thinking she was worth it. It ended with the ultimatum, the one from the title. Her exact words, delivered with a chilling finality. "I have been dreaming of this day my entire life. I will not compromise on it. It's a $300,000 wedding, or there is no wedding at all." I'm not an emotional person. My job is to look at a problem, assess the risks, and make a logical decision. And in that moment, the woman I loved presented me with a catastrophic project plan. A plan designed to bankrupt us before we even began, all for the sake of a one-day party. I looked at her, the woman I thought I knew, and I felt a profound sense of loss. It wasn't just about the money. It was about the complete and total disconnect from reality, the sheer, unadulterated entitlement. So I made a logical decision. "Okay," I said, my voice eerily calm. "If that's your choice, then I choose no wedding." She scoffed. "You're bluffing." "I'm not," I replied, standing up. "I can't start a marriage based on a foundation of debt and delusion. I love you, but I won't do this, so there won't be one." She just stared, her jaw slack. I think she genuinely believed I'd grovel, that I'd promise her anything. The next day was a Monday. I went to work. I felt hollowed out. During my lunch break, I called the venue we had put a $5,000 deposit on. It was a lovely, rustic barn place that we had both supposedly loved. Thankfully, the place is incredibly popular with a long waiting list, so their contract offers a full refund on the deposit if you cancel with at least 90 days notice. We were on day 82. They could rebook the date in a heartbeat. I emailed them the formal cancellation notice. The full refund should be processed in 5 to 7 business days. I haven't spoken to Rachel since the fight. Complete radio silence. I figured she was waiting for me to crack, but this morning, exactly 72 hours after I canceled the venue, my phone rang. It was Carolyn, her mother. I expected screaming. I expected threats. What I got was begging. "Patrick, honey," she began, her voice dripping with fake sweetness. "Rachel is just devastated. You know how she gets. You need to fix this. You need to call the venue back and tell them it was a mistake." I told her I wasn't going to do that the wedding was off. Her voice sharpened. "Don't be ridiculous. We've already told everyone to save the date. My brother from out of state has already booked his flight. You can't embarrass us like this. You need to be a man and give my daughter the wedding she deserves." And that's where we are. She's not begging for her daughter's relationship. She's begging me to save her from social embarrassment. Rachel hasn't reached out. Her mom is demanding I indebt myself for her family's pride. And I've never been more certain that I've made the right decision. Update 1. It's been a wild week. Thank you all for the support and the DMs. It's validating to know I'm not crazy. Things have escalated, just as many of you predicted. The entitlement isn't just a leak anymore, it's a fire hose. So after Carolyn's call, I laid low. I blocked her number but kept Rachel unblocked, hoping she'd come to her senses and we could at least have a mature conversation about ending things. That was naive. On Wednesday, I got a flurry of texts from Rachel. Not apologies, not questions, demands. It was a bulleted list. The ring. She wants it, which is fair. It's a conditional gift. I've already arranged to have it picked by a courier. Financial reimbursement. She demanded $5,000 for the emotional labor and time she put into planning the non-existent $300 wedding. She said she spent countless hours on Pinterest in making that binder. Slander. Damages. She claimed I slandered her by making her look materialistic to the venue staff. I literally just sent a professional cancellation email. She wanted another $2,500 for that. The watch. This was the kicker. My grandfather passed away 2 years ago. He left me his vintage Omega Seamaster from the 1960s. It's not flashy, but it's a classic. It's my single most prized possession. His letter said he hoped I'd wear it on my wedding day as a symbol of timeless love. Rachel knew this. Her text read, "Since we were going to be family, the watch should be considered a family heirloom. I want it as compensation for the public humiliation." Reading that text, any lingering sadness I had evaporated and was replaced by a cold, hard resolve. This wasn't a misguided, heartbroken woman. This was a grift. I took 24 hours to cool off. I booked a 1-hour consultation with a lawyer to understand my rights and make sure I was protected. Then I replied, not by text but by email. I kept it professional and based it on the legal advice I'd just received. Subject: dissolution of engagement and property. Rachel, per your text messages, here is my formal response. The engagement ring will be collected by a secure courier on Friday at 10 a.m. Please have it ready. I will not be providing any monetary compensation for emotional labor or perceived slander. There is no legal basis for such a claim. My grandfather's watch is my personal property, a family heirloom from my side of the family. It was never a gift to you, nor was it ever considered marital property. It will remain in my possession. Please direct any further correspondence regarding material possessions through this email address. I wish you the best in the future. Patrick. The response was instantaneous and nuclear. Within minutes, her father, Dennis, called me. Dennis is usually a quiet, passive man who lets Carolyn run the show. Not this time. He was screaming. Not about Rachel's broken heart. He was furious that I had formally refused their demands. "What the hell is your problem?" he yelled. "You embarrassed her. You call off the wedding, and now you're sending cold formal emails over a goddamn watch?" "I'm just protecting myself, Dennis," I said calmly. "Your daughter is demanding thousands of dollars and personal property that doesn't belong to her. She's upset. You humiliated her. My wife had to cancel the calligrapher. Do you know how embarrassing that is?" He sputtered. The calligrapher. That's what this was about. The deposits they'd put down on their end without telling me for their fantasy wedding. They weren't just mad, they were out of pocket. This is where it gets dirty. The next day, I see a post on Carolyn's Facebook page. It was public. No names, but it was obvious. So sad to see a young woman give her heart to a man who turns out to be controlling and financially abusive, dangling a wedding in front of her face, only to rip it away because he doesn't think she's worth it. A good man provides. A weak man makes excuses. Our daughter deserves a provider, not a project manager. The comments were a cesspool of her socialite friends, offering sympathy and slamming the anonymous scumbag. They were trying to control the narrative, to paint me as the villain, to salvage their social standing. So, the begging has stopped. The threats and the public smear campaign have begun. They're no longer trying to get me to pay for a wedding. They're trying to make me pay for canceling it. And they've made the mistake of showing me exactly what they care about: appearances. And I'm a project manager. I'm very, very good at managing optics and demolishing weak foundations. Update 2. It's been a few weeks and things have simmered into a kind of cold war. Thank you again for being a sounding board. It's helped me stay focused. The smear campaign continued. Rachel made her own post, a teary-eyed selfie, perfect lighting of course, about surviving financial manipulation and the pain of realizing the man you love only values you in dollars and cents. It was a masterpiece of victimhood. My phone blew up from mutual friends asking for my side. I gave a very brief, neutral statement to anyone who asked. We had a fundamental disagreement about our financial future. I wish her the best. I refuse to engage in the mudslinging. That's not how you win. You win by letting your opponent overplay their hand. Their weakness is their obsession with social status and the appearance of wealth. I knew from conversations with Rachel that her dad Dennis's import-export business had been struggling for a few years. They lived well beyond their means, propped up by a carefully curated image. This $300 wedding wasn't just a party, it was a desperate attempt to project success. Then about 2 weeks ago, the next dirty trick arrived in my mailbox. A formal-looking letter from a law office I'd never heard of. It was a demand letter, full of legalese, but the gist was, Rachel was now claiming I had entered into a verbal contract to pay for the $300 wedding, and my cancellation caused her significant financial and emotional distress. They were demanding $50,000 in damages, plus, once again, my grandfather's watch. My lawyer, who I now officially have on a small retainer, laughed when I forwarded it to him. He said it was a scare tactic, likely a friend of the family's firm trying to bully me. He drafted a polite but firm piss-off letter in response, citing the lack of any evidence for a verbal contract and restating that the watch was non-negotiable personal property. This confirmed my theory. They were desperate, not just for revenge, but for money. So I started my counteroffensive. It wasn't loud, it was quiet. It was strategic. Phase 1, the vendor outreach. I compiled a list of all the high-end vendors Rachel and Carolyn had mentioned from their stupid binder. I sent each of them a polite email. Subject, regarding inquiry from Rachel Patrick. Hello, I'm writing to formally withdraw our previous inquiry regarding your services for a wedding on date. My engagement to Rachel last name has been dissolved, and we will not be moving forward with any wedding plans. Thank you for your time. Best, Patrick. This did 2 things. It cleanly cut any ties they might be trying to maintain using my name, and it spread the correct narrative through the gossipy high-end wedding industry. Phase 2, the social jiu-jitsu. I didn't fight their narrative online. I just started living my life, slightly more publicly than usual. I posted a picture from a weekend hiking trip. A picture of me and my buddies at a ball game. I was showing, not telling, that my life was not over. I was thriving. The turning point came from an unexpected source. Rachel's cousin, a decent guy named Tyler who I'd always gotten along with, sent me a text. Hey man, no need to reply if you don't want to, but are you okay? My aunt and uncle are losing their minds. I decided to be honest with him, but brief. Hey Tyler, I'm doing okay, thanks for asking. It's a mess. I canceled the wedding because I wasn't willing to start a life based on a massive 6-figure debt. That's the whole story. Hope you're well. He replied a while later. 6 figures? Man, my dad is fuming. He said Uncle Dennis just tried to borrow a huge amount of money from him for some business opportunity. My dad said no, he thought something was fishy. It all makes sense now. I texted back one simple question. Out of curiosity, did he happen to mention a number for the wedding? Tyler's reply came back instantly. He did actually. He said Dennis let slip it was a $300K wedding. My dad thought he was joking. Holy shit, man, you dodged a missile. Bingo. The foundation wasn't just weak, it was rotten. Dennis was trying to borrow money from family not for his business but to cover their lies. They've made this about status, money, and heirlooms. They've tried to take my money, my reputation, and my grandfather's memory. It's time to end it. Tildar, the family sent a bogus legal threat, which failed. I discovered they are in serious financial trouble and are trying to borrow money from relatives to cover their lies. They've built their entire world on a house of cards. I'm about to remove the bottom card. Final update. Hello everyone, this will be my final post on this matter. The project is complete. The demolition is over. After my last update, I knew I had to do something decisive, something that would end the harassment, clear my name, and use their own values against them. They tried to steal my most precious heirloom, so I decided to make it the centerpiece of my final move. I waited a week. I let the silence sit. I knew that behind the scenes, their world was getting frantic. Dennis being denied the loan from his brother was a major blow. Then, I executed the final phase. It was a single Instagram post. I have a modest following, friends, family, colleagues. But I knew their entire social circle watched my profile like hawks. I was going to give them a cannonball. I took a high-quality photo of my grandfather's Omega. I set it on a piece of dark, polished wood, the light catching the aged steel and the warm patina on the dial. It looked elegant, timeless, and dignified. Then I wrote the caption. Every word was chosen with surgical precision. Some things are measured in moments, not money. This was my grandfather's watch. He gave it to me hoping I'd wear it on my wedding day, seeing it as a symbol of a partnership built on love, trust, and mutual respect. While my recent engagement has ended, I want to honor the legacy of what this watch truly represents. To do that, I have had the watch formally appraised, and I will be donating its full value, $8,500, to the local Children's Cancer Foundation. I will be matching the donation personally. My grandfather would have loved knowing his legacy was helping build a stronger future for kids in our community. True value isn't in what you can demand, but in what you can give. Excited to move forward into a future built on solid ground and sound principles. Legacy, charity, moving forward. I hit post, and then I put my phone on silent and went to the gym. The fallout, as relayed to me by Tyler, was biblical. My post was the match, but their desperation was the gasoline. At first, a few of Carolyn's closest friends jumped into the comments to defend them with vague statements like, "You don't know the whole story." But that was quickly drowned out. Tyler's father, seeing my post, apparently called Dennis, and an enormous family argument erupted. The story that Dennis had been trying to borrow money while they were slandering me began to circulate among their extended family and close friends. The combination was devastating. My public act of charity, contrasted with the private stories of their financial desperation and grasping demands, painted a picture no one could ignore. The few who defended them went silent. The public humiliation was total. Rachel and Carolyn's social media accounts were deactivated within 48 hours. About a week ago, I got a single email from a new address. It was from Rachel. "I hope you're happy. You ruined my life and my family over a stupid wedding. You're a cruel, vindictive bastard. I will always hate you." There was no remorse, no self-awareness, just pure, undiluted rage that her plans had failed. I sent it to my lawyer to keep for his file, and then I deleted it. And that was it. It's over. I made the donation. I got the tax receipt. It felt good. It felt clean. I lost a watch, but I saved my life. There's a tinge of sadness for the man I was 4 years ago, who fell in love with a woman who never really existed, but there is zero regret. I responded to a calculated betrayal with a calculated strategy. They built a house of cards on a foundation of debt and ego. I didn't blow it over. I just calmly pulled out the single card that was mine. The rest of it just fell down on its own.